Once you've recruited a group of debaters, how do you get started? Like most competitive activities, debate has a season, and the official beginning of that season is marked by the first tournament of the year. For a new coach, the most immediate question might be, how do I get my novice debaters ready for their first tournament?
You don't. It's the most important thing. It's the you don't. They are going to be scared. They're not going to understand half of it. If you attempt to teach them everything, it's going to fail miserably. My philosophy is this. Let them go to a debate round. There's a good chance they're going to love it. They're going to learn a little bit. They're going to learn some bad habits. And it's just a process of fixing it.
Obviously, you want to get them speaking in any form of fashion. I would say definitely a good thing for beginning debaters is just to have them do like impromptu speeches, which isn't necessarily based on the resolution, but maybe an aspect of the resolution. So like this year, it's alternative energy incentives. So it may be a good thing to say, all right, go figure out what alternative energy is and have them come back and discuss that. Figure out what incentives are and what type of incentives will exist for alternative energy, and then go from there. I think they all understand what the United States federal government is and sort of how it works. But the tangible part of the resolution, which is alternative energy incentives or incentives for alternative energy, would be important for them to understand, and that just kind of gets them going on the topic.
It's kind of like football. We try not to let them be overwhelmed by the whole system. If you look at all of what debate encompasses and it's just like trying to understand physics or something. But you can take little bits and pieces, one little argument, and work with them on that. And once they understand that, you grow from there.
But you've got to do some of the basic groundwork. You've got to tell them what debate is. You've got to get them into the rules, and you've got to get them, help them develop some arguments that they can use. But like if you've got the right kids, that's tons of fun because you can play with the arguments and all that. And then, of course, when you actually get to tournament day, you've got to deal with the nerves.
Get some stuff into their hands. Help them at least become familiar with the basic storyline of their case and at least the basic storyline of one disadvantage so that they can go into a round being able to have something to say in the 2AR or something to say in the 2NR. I'm not a big believer in having kids go and watch tournaments or all of that stuff. I kind of think it's like swimming. I can describe debate to you, until I'm blue in the face. I can show you debate rounds, but until you get in the water, you're really not going to understand it. So I try to get kids to a tournament as quickly as possible, get some stuff in their hands, and hope it works out for the best.
The more speaking, the better. I think that even with very young debaters who have almost no experience, just starting them into speaking exercises is the most important thing. For me, at least, when I started out debating, I was on the fence until I actually went to my first tournament. So I think getting the kids to the first tournament or having a tournament setting is more important than making sure they know everything.
Talking about debate is boring as a general rule, especially until you've done it. Now, once you've started debating, you want to know more, and you will seek knowledge rather than be taught.
Pair them up with the former student that has debated before. Because I find out a lot of times the students, the new debaters, when they come on board, if I get them and pull them, usually try to pull them to the side and maybe talk to them and try to go over some things with them, they'll be interested, but they're not as interested as they are once that other student is talking. When the other student is talking to them and they're telling them about the different things that go on and happen, they perk up a little more.
You really just got to make them believe in themselves, give them confidence. Because you're going to mess up as a novice. But if you give them confidence, then, they'll be more prepared for the debate rounds.
it is important to keep reminding them that when they are in a novice division of debate, they are debating against people who are also novices, and remind them of that from beginning to end, because they will always see and search for the best. A lot of students who are motivated to debate are used to being successful at what they do, not all, but many, and to try to make them realize that they aren't going to be the best, and they don't have to be the best, but they will be competing with people who are also novices. So making them feel comfortable with that is a very, very important part.
One thing I've always tell my beginners is you have one goal at your first tournament. It is not to win the tournament, win a trophy. You can try to do that. I know you're a human being. Your goal is to be ready for your second tournament, because you can't know how to be ready for your first tournament. You just go do it. And if you hit bad people who understand less than you may win, and that's great. But if you don't, that's okay. But to be ready for your second tournament is something you can control, because you realize, oh, I do need to know that issue. I do need to understand that. And that's a kind of, I think it sort of reduces the pressure and gives a good kind of perspective for someone to begin.